And I knew at that moment, okay, this is real, and I'll be doing this or a version of this for the rest of my life. There's no doubt about it.
David, how did you find carnivore?
Well, I had been doing keto for a while, and my weight loss got stuck. And I started doing some more research, and I stumbled across a Dr. Berry video, and he was, it was titled more for weight loss, but then he started talking about autoimmune disease, and that was a big deal for me because I've got several autoimmune diseases. I've got eight of them that we know of. And one of them was severe enough it kept me bedridden for 10 years. So, and I was in a wheelchair for a little while before that. Yeah. So I was pretty sick. And yeah, life wasn't worth living very much. I was on massive doses of painkillers, something called Hydromorph to be exact, a very powerful painkiller. And that kept me pretty zombie-like most of the time. I was probably sleeping 14 hours a day average, anywhere between 12 and 16. My wife would help get me up on the couch for a while, and I'd try and eat a little something while I was up, and then back to bed not that long later. Like I couldn't stay up for very long before I was falling asleep. And I had very little muscle control, so I was always having accidents in bed and stuff like that. I had to have healthcare worker come in for a few years to help me get clean up and take showers, that kind of thing. So yeah, it was not the greatest of lives. Certainly, I considered on more than one occasion during this point. And finally, I got to a point where I said, okay, I can't take this anymore. Something's got to change. But let's try something, and let's try doing some research. When I was a kid, when I was 13, I was diagnosed with the myasthenia gravis, which causes the severe muscle weakness. That's the worst of the autoimmune. And we had my mom took me to a doctor back then. He was a naturopath, and he put me on a very restrictive diet and gave me a bunch of vitamins. And about 6 months later, I was in full remission, which lasted almost 30 years. But I couldn't remember the protocol he had put me on. I mean, I was a kid. By the time I was getting sick, my mom had dementia, so I couldn't really talk to her and ask her. So I knew I was going to have to do my own research, which was fine. I'm pretty good at research. So I knew the first thing I had to do was get off all the morphine because it completely blocked my mental acuity. I had no memory, so it wouldn't have mattered how much I studied. I wouldn't have remembered a thing. So I was even starting to lose pieces of my past, stuff that I couldn't remember anymore. And so I knew I had to get off the morphine. And when I went to my doctor initially to tell him what my plans were, he told me not to do it. He didn't want to help me get off the morphine. He said I needed it for the severity of the issues with my back. And he said, you're not going to survive if you go off it. And I said, well, I've got to. I can't survive anyway, so I've got to do this. And he wasn't willing to help me with it. So I started tapering down on my own. And after I'd gotten down as far as I could go, after about 6 months, I had to have different prescription to get smaller pills so I could finish tapering off. So I went back to my doctor at that point, and he finally agreed to change my prescription so I could finish tapering off. And in the meantime, I was learning different meditations for pain management. I was trying different things, trying exercises and stuff. I was also trying some meditation music, something called binaural beats, which can be helpful. Self-hypnosis, quantum touch. I was learning all this stuff, trying all these different things. And all of it helped to a degree. And so I knew my next goal while I was researching was to start losing weight. So I started a type of keto diet called R3. It's actually something that's kind of sponsored by Melaleuca company. We love their products, so we were trying their recommendations for their version of keto, and it worked. Started losing weight, and as I was losing weight, I was feeling better. At my heaviest, I was just over 540 pounds, and as of a couple of days ago, I was 308. So I've lost a good chunk, like 232 pounds. So that's some might say I lost a whole person. But yeah, so but anyway, I'd gotten down to like 390, and I was just stuck. I couldn't lose anymore. Found that Dr. Barry video, and he was talking about autoimmune, and it just clicked. You know, I had that little thing inside of me that said, yes, this is the answer. This is what I've been looking for. This is the solution to all my, or most of my issues, health wise. So I talked to my wife. She was very unsupportive, which it's not unsurprising. I've talked to a lot of people running the same issue, because she had all the same brainwashing that I grew up with, right? With the standard American diet, what's supposed to be healthy and what isn't. And so she was very against it. She thought I was going to kill myself trying to do this diet. And I said, well, if I don't do something, I'm going to die anyway. So it's my body. I've got to try this. I don't have another choice. You don't want to hear about the other choice. So I did it, and I jumped in. I've got keto flu, of course. So I spent 2 or 3 weeks suffering from sugar withdrawal and oxalate dumping, and all the normal stuff we go through, getting fat adapted. So that took some time. But I noticed about 2.5 weeks in, I got up one morning, and normally when I get up in the morning and I go to, or at the time, I would go to grab my, because I was taking a lot of vitamins at that time. So I go to grab my bottle of vitamins, and I had like a little pouch thing. So I'd go to grab those, and it was always the same thing. My hands would always hurt, and I'd have to move them a little bit to be able to grab stuff from the osteoarthritis. And 2.5 weeks in, I got up one morning and I went to grab my vitamins, and nothing hurt. I was a little confused, to say the least. And I looked at my hands, and I could actually see the tendons on the back of my hand. I hadn't seen them in 20 years because of I was just constant swelling and fluid retention and all that from the arthritis. So and I looked down, and my ankles were the same. I could actually see my ankles and see the tendons in my feet. I had, the same thing. I hadn't seen that for years. And that was pretty amazing. I knew there was definitely some good stuff going on at this point. And then about a few days before that, I'd had to make a trip up a couple of flights of stairs in our apartment building. The elevator went out, and I'd been out for, I can't remember what we were out for, but I was out for something, and I had to come back, and the elevator was broken. So I had to get up the stairs, and it was a real struggle. I had to grab the rail with both hands, drag myself one step at a time. Took about 10 to 15 minutes to get up the stairs. And I was just wrecked. And I made it to the couch, and I couldn't move for 3 hours. The muscle weakness from the myasthenia gravis just wiped me out. So, at that point, it was still there. But about a week later, made all the difference. They'd had to order parts in for the elevator, so they had to put the elevator down for a few hours to fix it. And I'd had to go out and get blood tests. So I knew what I was facing when I came back. So I was kind of ready for it, and absolutely blew my mind. I put one hand on the rail, and I felt strong, and I just went up the steps like a normal person for the first time in 15 years. It was amazing. And I got up to the top. I was a little winded because I'm woefully out of shape, but I sat on the couch for 10 minutes, and I was fine. And I knew at that moment, okay, this is real, and I'll be doing this or a version of this for the rest of my life. There's no doubt about it. And just a couple days later, I guess 3 or 4 days later, I had an appointment with my neurologist, like a telephone appointment. That's actually who the blood test was for. So my neurology specialist, she looked at my test results, talked to me and asked me a few questions. I told her a little bit about the story and what I was doing. And she says, you're in remission, officially full remission. After exactly 1 month, I started the carnivore January 16th, 2023. And that was February 16th, 2023. I had that appointment. So 1 month and carnivore put my autoimmune and my osteoarthritis into remission. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty phenomenal, and life changing, of course.
Yeah, but for all that time, you must have felt like a prisoner in your home.
Yeah. There were times where I didn't leave the apartment for more than a year. And just actually stepping in the shower and taking a shower was so difficult and so painful that there was a period of time at my worst, I didn't shower for over a year. You know, I'd clean up with a cloth, like a sponge bath kind of a thing, but that was all I could manage. And yeah, I mean, we had to have rubber sheets on the bed because of all the accidents. There's just no muscle control with that myasthenia gravis. It's a horrible disease. But yeah,
and that muscle control's back.
Yeah, that's once you get one autoimmune disease, you tend to get them in groups. And that was the first one that I had when I was a kid, and all the others kind of came after. Like I've got ankylosing spondylitis, I've got Sjogren's disease, stenosis, eczema, psoriasis, like a really severe form of seborrhea as well, which is all autoimmune related. So now the skin condition, it's not in full remission. That's like that particular one, which is the eczema. Actually, it's affected by spices, and I was a bad boy last week, and I had garlic more than twice in the week and a little pepper, and this is the result. I'm very sensitive to that kind of stuff, so I have to use it sparingly. Other spices I can't touch at all. Seed oils, red spice, nightshade, anything coming from a nightshade. If I get into that in my system, I'm in pain within an hour and sick for days. Yeah, it's nasty. But as I continued on carnivore, all of my autoimmune stuff, one by one, started getting better, and most of it just went into remission. And the ones that didn't just kept getting better and better and better. And now just the only one left is this eczema once in a while. But and other stuff began to heal. Like I've got bipolar, and I haven't taken medication since I was in my late 20s. And I just didn't like what it did to me, and I would rather suffer from the mood swings than deal with the side effects. So I hadn't taken medication for years, and I noticed about 4 months in on carnivore, the symptoms started getting less. And like the mood swings were starting to level out a bit. And at 6 months, I realized I had no more symptoms, and I haven't had an incident since. So it's been over a year since I've had a bipolar incident, and I'm completely medication free now. I've been off all of my medications for like a year and a half, or almost a year and a half.
And how many prescriptions were you on before?
19. Yeah. Half of them were for side effects of the other half.
So you've got off 19 prescriptions in nearly in less than 2 years.
Yeah. And you know, even my my thyroid issues, I don't know if I've got Hashimoto's or not. I know my mom had it, but I know my thyroid was really bad. The doctor never officially diagnosed me with Hashimoto's. chances are it's what I've got, which would be another autoimmune, but I don't count it as one because it's not official. But the doctor was always trying to put me back on the Synthroid, and I technically, I guess I shouldn't have just gone off it and then tried to solve it. I should have found a solution first. But yeah, it's just my personality. Sometimes I do that kind of stuff. It's the Asperger's. But I've been off the Synthroid. He was trying to get me back on. And I said, well, just give me a little time. I'm going to do some research and see if I can find a natural solution for it. And the first couple things I tried were a dismal and complete failure. So when I went back for more blood tests, he was like, look, it's getting worse. You got to do something. I've got to put you on this. And I said, give me one more chance and I'll see if I can figure it out. So he wrote me another blood test for 3 months down the road, and I did more research. And I actually had one of the viewers from my YouTube channel actually reached out to me and gave me a suggestion that worked. And I've adjusted a little bit and added a couple things. So for my thyroid now, basically I take, it's one pill NAC, so it's a mineral. And this one also contains molybdenum and selenium. And then I also take Lugol's solution, iodine drops, 5% solution. So I do like 5 drops a day of that. And that completely solved it. And that and a couple other things that I was doing also solved my rocketing triglycerides. So I almost broke the doctor when I came back and my triglycerides were completely normal. Because he had been watching the triglycerides go up and up the longer I was carnivore because of the other complicating issues. And once I solved those, then the triglycerides went away, and I did a proper 12-hour fast. I hadn't been fasting properly when I was getting my triglycerides tested. And for carnivores, that's kind of a no-no. It's got to be a specific window to get a proper reading. So, yeah, and every time I do this, every time I solve one of these things with natural remedies, my doctor gets a little more peeved, I think.
Well, every time you do something like that, he knows he's closer to not having a job anymore.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, like through all this, have you been able to work, or were you just?
Well, officially I'm still on my disability pension. So what I've been, once I was sick for so long that I got completely out of date for all of the stuff I used to do as a living. Like by trade, I'm a computer geek, tech repair guy, consultant, programmer, all that kind of stuff. Anything computer related, I can usually handle it. But I got so out of date, I couldn't go back to do that as a job anymore. And even if I could, even now I couldn't handle a full-time job yet because of my issues with my back that are going to require surgery. But I'm still working on other stuff. Like I do some freelance video editing and graphic design, that kind of stuff, which has come in handy for doing my YouTube stuff. And plus, I'm doing a little bit of health coaching and teaching other people how to solve autoimmune issues and chronic disease. So yeah, I'm just I'm working on building stuff up. I had a bit of a setback just recently. I actually just posted a video about it here on my YouTube yesterday. But I've been struggling. I had about 2 months ago, I had an issue with my foot crop up. It had been building for a while, for a couple of years, but I went down to Hack Your Health in Austin and last June there. And the trip back, the one flight, I got stuck in a weird seat, and my foot had to be at a kind of an odd angle, and it put pressure on the painful spot, and it just ramped it up like crazy, and it started deteriorating pretty quickly after that. And it got to a point where I could no longer go on my normal walks like I would go for couple kilometers 3 times a week for my walks, kind of a thing. I couldn't even walk across the apartment. And it was really kind of jarring and frustrating. I had had all this stuff on the go. I was doing all these things, and all of a sudden I couldn't do nothing. The pain was ramped up so high I couldn't focus on putting together my course materials and stuff. And I was pretty out of sorts for a couple of months. It took me a while to kind of get my head wrapped around all this and find a solution. Went to my doctor. He didn't really have a clue as to what was going on. Did x-rays. They didn't show anything. We're so short of doctors here in Canada that when I phone him for an appointment, it takes a month or more to get in to see him. So it was getting really frustrating. Luckily, my wife found a solution, and as of a couple of days ago, no more pain in my foot. I was able to go for my normal or almost normal walk yesterday. Went for a little over a kilometer, short walk, just kind of break back in. And that was wonderful. And because I couldn't focus on the real raw research stuff for a couple of months there, I started studying cooking videos. They're one of the more popular videos on my channel, or areas of my channel, the recipes. So I started learning more, and up until now, I've been like a pretty boring carnivore. I just cook my meat and not really do much with it other than a little salt and some fat and different cooking techniques, but that's about it. But now I've been getting really excited about trying all these different carnivore recipes. The Chris Cooking Nashville channel has been a real inspiration, kind of rekindled my passion for cooking. And I've been doing some new recipes and putting out videos. And my wife told me yesterday, after we filmed my last video, she says, if you can keep cooking this kind of stuff, I might just do carnivore. So she's keto right now, but yeah.
Right. So you mentioned before that, when you were thinking about moving to carnivore, she was kind of a bit scared of you doing this. She had some concerns. Like, how does she feel now?
Oh, well, I mean, she saw my absolute complete turnaround in health. I mean, and she got pretty excited. I remember she commented to me about 2 months in. She says, "It's incredible to have my husband back." So that was pretty cool. And the day that we took my wheelchair back was a pretty big day. And then the day we moved out of the wheelchair accessible apartment into a normal place, that was huge. That was a little over a year ago now. And that was, man, that was like an opening of the gates of freedom and normalcy. So yeah, it's the change in my life over the last couple of years has just been incredible. And that's this way of life. I can't begin to explain what it's done for me. I mean, I feel better now at 58 than I did at 30. And that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I run across all these naysayers that say, "Oh, you're going to kill yourself with this diet." Oh, really? As opposed to how I was living 5 years ago.
Right. As opposed to 19 prescriptions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but even if I was in that position that you've been through, my answer to those people would be, so what? At least I'm going to have, maybe I'll live for just 10 more years. If assuming what you're saying is correct, that I will kill myself with a high saturated fat diet, maybe I have 10 years, but it's going to be 10 good years as opposed to, 30 horrible years on 19 prescriptions and in a wheelchair.
Yeah. That was exactly my feeling and position on the whole thing. And that's, when I first started this and was feeling so good, and people would come at me, you know, I'd get kind of upset and I'd feel like I had to defend myself. But I've gotten to a point now where it's just like, hey, man, you do you. I'm not telling you how to eat. You know, accord me the same, you know, I'm going to eat what I want to eat and you do what you do. And, you know, it's working for me. And if what you're doing is working for you, great. You know, thank you for the concern, but yeah, we'll see you later.
Yeah, which is how it should be. You know, um, just because someone has chosen to eat in a particular way, whether it be like high carb or vegan or vegetarian or whatever it is, that doesn't give them the right to preach to other people about, well, you should be eating this way. You shouldn't be eating like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of eating, like day to day, how are you eating now?
Right now I'm eating OMAD, so just one meal a day. When I went just before I went, well, about the last month before I went down to KetoCon, I was gaining a slight amount of weight, you know, like a pound a week or every couple of weeks, kind of a thing. So just a little bit, and then I went down like 5 days early to KetoCon because I knew some other people down in Austin, so I wanted a chance to go visit with people and stuff before Hack Your Health started. So. I wound up, you know, I was eating pretty good, better than I normally did at home. You know, I found a store that cut nice thick steak, 1.5 inch, 2 inch thick steaks, and I bought a bunch of them and was just eating like crazy for the whole time I was down there, and I gained a few more pounds. And by the time, and then I got home and I gained a couple more pounds. So, you know, I put on like 20 pounds or so there, and I was like, oh. So, I did a 72-hour fast, and I went back to my normal eating, and then I started another 72-hour fast. All this pain stuff hit, and I thought maybe it was related at the time. I know now it wasn't, but at the time. So I stopped the 72-hour fast, and then I just switched back to OMAD, and because I had been doing TMAD. So went back to OMAD, and the weight started coming off. It's not fast, you know, like I'm losing maybe a pound and a half a week, but I'm good with that as long as it's steady progress.
Right.
And
and you get used to that kind of not being impatient about the weight because you know that it eventually will come off. It's not like, you know,
yeah.
when you've dieted in years gone past and it's not coming off. What am I going to do? Oh, I'll just go back to the donuts.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think the thing that a lot of people lose sight of is that, you know, they spent 20, 30, maybe 40 years in some cases. In my case, like 50 years I spent damaging my body with all this junk crap food. So it's not going to heal overnight. It's going to take time. And, you know, yeah, your body will start losing weight a lot of times, but sometimes your body wants to continue to heal other stuff before it really starts losing weight. You know, it'll get you to a certain point and then it wants to slow down and work on other stuff. At least that's my thought. It's kind of been my experience, what I've seen with myself and other people I talk to. So it's, you know,
Yeah, it does seem
I
like
don't get,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I don't get too worked up about it anymore. I used to be all freaked out of if I gained an ounce, but now it's like, as long as the general trend is downward, I'm good with that.
So you're doing OMAD now, and everything you're doing physically is obviously taking less time now because, you know, it's easier for you to climb the stairs. It's easier for you to move around generally. You must have clawed back a lot of time.
Yeah, it's I would I spent probably the first 3 months carnivore pissed off. To, you know, not to put too fine a point on it. I was just mad I was mad as hell because I was doing all the research and seeing all the corruption in the food system and the medical system and pharmacare and all that kind of stuff. You know, I was seeing all this corruption, and I came to the realization, you know, I've lost 15 years of my life for no good reason, for other people's greed and nonsense. And so, you know, I was angry, and finally I got to a point where I was like, this isn't serving anything, being angry. Okay, it happened. Nothing I can do about it, about what did happen. I can change my own future going forward. So I let that stop renting space in my head, and realized that, you know, that's just the way the world is. I know now. So now it's my mission to help other people know so that they can get off that treadmill and regain health. So, you know, the stuff I've seen healed just in my own body on this has been incredible. I mean, there's like high blood pressure, for instance. I had extremely high blood pressure. They put one of those machines on me that you wear for like a week. And the highest reading they got during that period was 216 over 175. Then I understood why I was hearing all the rushing in my ears, pulsing with my blood.
That's a horrible feeling too, right?
Oh, yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, it definitely can freak you out. But yeah, and so they put me on medication, and the best they could do with medication was about 140, 145 over 110, which it's not great, but it's not fatal anymore. So, but within about 2 months on carnivore, I was off the medication and hovering around 120 over 72. So
that's fantastic.
That was amazing. And my A1C went from, I think the highest one I had was, they did one that I think it was either 6.5 or 6.7. I can't remember. 6.5, I think, which is like right at the border of full diabetes, if I remember correctly. And now it hovers around 5.2, 5.1, somewhere in there. I haven't had it tested for a while, but.
Did they have you on any medications related to diabetes?
No, they wanted to, they were about to, but then I went carnivore and became unnecessary. So, you know, the other thing that carnivore healed inadvertently was I had really nasty toenail fungus on my big toes, both of them. And nothing they tried to give me would do anything with it. Got off all the sugar, and it just went away. It took a few months, but it went away. So, got all new toenails, half grown out now. So.
Yeah, sugar has a lot to answer for, right? It's deadly.
Oh, it's nasty stuff. And my lower back, I had 3 discs in my lower back that were completely shot. And like in 2019, I had a CT scan done, and they confirmed then that they were still shot. And but you know, I was getting the X-rays done so that I needed to get below a certain weight before they would book me for surgery, before they'd even consider it. So I had dropped below that, and I had gone to get the X-rays. I wound up putting weight back on later, but that's another story. So they did the scan, and the discs were completely shot. And then when I lost the weight again, and I was doing so well on carnivore, I started the process again. Got an MRI, not this last July, but the July before. Yeah, it was July of 23. So I was about six months carnivore, or 5 months carnivore, and I got the MRI done, and those 3 discs were completely regenerated. They're like in perfect shape. Like, I didn't even know that was possible. And now unfortunately, I've got other issues with my back that require surgical intervention to solve. But that was huge. I mean, that was what I was on all the morphine for, which were those missing discs. So that's
for the other back issues, is that just a waiting game until you get the surgery?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, maybe there's something that can heal it. Maybe my body will eventually reverse it. I don't know. So the osteoarthritis and the Sjogren's and stuff, they did a number on different spots in my back. So where the nerve bundles branch out of the spine, they go between these little horns on the vertebrae. So those little areas where they come out, it's gotten really rough from the arthritis and extra bone growth. So it's like bumpy and rough and sharp. So when I stand or walk, it causes pain in the middle of my back, and a lot of it. And then right now I'm dealing with an issue in my neck, the stenosis, and I think the Sjogren's cause bone growth on the inside of the cervical vertebrae. So C5 is actually pinching a nerve, and so I don't have very good use of my right hand. It's very weak. Half of it's numb, can't really feel much. And some fingers, like my index finger, I can't lift any higher than that. I mean, I can go like that and move it, but on its own, that's about as much I can move it. So, and that's going to take, as far as I know, that's going to take surgery. I'll know for sure once I see the surgeon, but I've been on the waiting list, I think now for, I want to say 14 months. So yeah, it shouldn't be too much longer. I should be able to get in to see him here by Canadian Thanksgiving, which is November. So.
That's just to see him, let alone the operation. So then that'll need to be rescheduled when they can fit. That'll need to be scheduled when they can fit that in.
Yeah. The new provincial premier, she's been making a lot of changes. So she's set it up now so that she's making rural hospitals that aren't using their operating rooms available to take the load off of the more serious surgeries in the bigger centers. So once you get in to see the surgeon, he'll assess how serious of a situation it is, and if you need attention pretty quickly, then he can usually get you in within a few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh,
so,
that's good.
Yeah. So obviously the priority is going to be my neck. Once they fix that, then we can worry about the back. And then once I've got down to where I've lost as much fat as I think I'm going to need to, then I'll probably be looking at some skin removal surgery, because I've got huge amounts of hanging skin everywhere that cause me some medical issues. Because I mean, like my stomach has folded over so much in the way it hangs that there's like moisture and heat under there, so I get constant fungal infections. So, I've got it under control now. I actually what the doctors were giving me wasn't working, so I developed my own cream that works as long as I use it regularly. So it's but stuff like that, and I've got this hanging skin all over my body, because when you lose that much weight in that short a period of time, it's just hanging everywhere. So. Then there's a few of us out there that have lost, extreme amounts of weight. Bill Knott, I think he's lost over 260 so far, and he's got a lot further to go than I do. And a couple other people that there was a doctor I met down at KetoCon. He's lost a whole bunch of weight. That was Nelson Vasquez. So it's got right here. Yeah. He's been carnivore for a while. So.
Wow. So what's your goal ultimately?
Well, my ultimate goal is to gain enough. I want to word this carefully. I want to gain enough reach so that I can start helping a serious amount of people, because there are literally hundreds of millions of people suffering from these chronic diseases and autoimmune disease and all these health issues that can be healed with the proper diet. It doesn't necessarily need to be carnivore. I was a carnivore evangelist for the first year, but I've started to realize it's not necessary for everybody. For those of us with severe health problems that we had to get off of all the damaging stuff, we didn't have much choice. But other people that haven't damaged themselves that much, they have choices if they just get off the crap. And so this is kind of my goal. I lived a terrible life for a few years, and none of it I regret, though. I mean, it was all learning and experience and helped me build empathy and understanding. So, I don't regret that, but I don't want other people to have to suffer that 1 minute longer than necessary. So that's my goal. I want to build the reach so that I can help as many people as possible and build out a coaching business. I've started to understand that these recipes I've been doing are actually really important for long-term carnivores. When you've been doing this for a while, if you start getting bored, that might be a gateway to go off the diet. But if you can start making some of these dishes that you're used to having when you were on standard American diet, but they're clean and they're carnivore, then that could be a game changer for people. So I'm starting to understand, like, it's a bigger picture rather than focusing on one thing. I need to, be a little broader in my approach and build up a well-rounded community. That, I've been working on it. I mean, I've got a bit of a community around me now, but it needs to be a lot bigger if I'm going to help the number of people I want to help.
Yeah. So on that point, how can people reach out to you?
Well, there's several ways. Unfortunately, it's not completely showing up on screen, but I've got my website, which is fuzzyroadtohealth.com. So you just got to add the .com to what you're seeing there. Mm-hmm. And then on YouTube, it's at Fuzzy Road to Health. And on Facebook, it's I've got a Facebook page, which is Fuzzy Road to Health. And then I've also got a carnivore coaching group on Facebook as well. And but probably if you want to find me on all the stuff, just go to my website, and then I've got links to everything else there. I'm also on Instagram under the Fuzzy Road to Health, and I'm on Twitter, but I had to do a weird spelling and I don't remember what it is. But yeah, if you just do a search for Fuzzy D or Fuzzy Road to Health, you'll find me just about anywhere. So
no worries. I'll link to all of those below. David, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time and so happy to hear that you're doing so well.
Oh, it was an honor to be here. I really enjoy helping to spread the word.